Well, it happened, or it didn't happen. Depends on how you look at it. The Rebels lose a tough one in Boise, and there goes the undefeated record. This time on City Beat, a game recap, Colandrea's chance for Mountain West Player of the Year, and Mullen's outside coaching rumors. All that and so much more coming up right now on City Beat.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us here on Sin City Beat. I'm your host, Mike Davis. Great to be with you. Now, this time on Sin City Beat, we're breaking down the heartbreaking loss the Rebels had over the weekend versus Boise State. Joining me on the panel, we have Ray Brewer, managing editor of the Las Vegas Sun, Matt Neverett, the broadcast voice for the UNLV Athletics, and our very own Paloma Villicana, sports reporter and anchor with Fox 5 Las Vegas and host of the Reb Zone right here with Dan Mullen. So thanks so much for joining us, guys. Now, it seems as if UNLV just can't crack the Boise State code. They haven't beaten the Broncos since 1976, and the guys have never won a game at Boise. All that still stands. 56-31 is how it shaked out. It was a tight game at half as the Broncos led the Rebels 28-24, but Maddox Madsen and Boise State didn't look back, dominating the second half. Madsen threw 4 touchdowns, and the Broncos led the way with 558 total yards on offense. So, Matt, what's your main takeaway from this loss?
I mean, the main takeaway is just what this Boise State program has been able to develop. You know, you really can't take anything away from what Dan Mullen and company have been able to do. But Boise State, you know, is the cream of the crop right now in the Mountain West. They've been able to kind of develop a system that goes against what's happening in college football right now, where they're able to keep guys 3, 4, 5 years, and we're starting to see the benefit of that. And for UNLV, it's a good litmus test as far as where they are. Offensively, no issue. They've scored 30 or more points in every game. It's the most games in a row that they've ever scored 30 points. But just when it matters most, the defense really struggled, and the big plays that they gave up were really the big-time loss, or the reason why they lost. Maddox Madsen had the big day because of really 4 or 5 big-time passes that went for 40, 50, 60 yards plus. And UNLV struggling defensively over the last really 2 games. They're going to have this bye week before the matchup against New Mexico to really try to figure this thing out and hone it in on that side of the ball. Yeah,
Paloma, I mean, we've been seeing this all season long. The offense has just been sneaking by teams, but, you know, there's been thriller after thriller. What's your takeaway from this week?
Ooh, a lot to clean up in all 3 phases, I believe, for UNLV entering their 3rd and final bye week. You know, what you mentioned about the defense, just glaring issues on defense, guys wide open. You see Boise State able to do it all on the ground and through the air on Saturday. I mean, the safeties, the corners, at all 3 levels. I mean, everything just needs to be really cleaned up on defense. On the offensive side, Colandrea is moving and grooving. We know what he can do. He's very efficient, very talented, dual threat quarterback, has receivers, has tight ends, can do it all. So, you know, offensively, they're moving in the right direction every week. Defensively, I think they're turning in the wrong direction every week. So, obviously, Air Force, Boise State, back-to-back tough defensive games for UNLV. So they got New Mexico at Allegiant Stadium coming up next. Hopefully we see some big improvements. But it's not just us sitting here. I think it's all of Las Vegas, the entire nation who follows UNLV. I mean, they really want to see a better defensive performance moving forward.
Yeah, Ray, I almost felt like I needed to do a wellness check on you this weekend because, you know, nobody loves the Rebs more than you. Tell us, what was your big takeaway from the weekend? And, you know, haven't beaten them since 76, never won in Boise. Did you think it was going to be the weekend where they pulled it off?
So this game reminded me of UNLV pre-Barry Odom, where they just would give up yards like it was going out of style, and guys had no idea where they were supposed to be on the field, and you're just shaking your head, praying that they get to 6 wins so they can maybe go to a bowl. Well, they're already at 6 wins, so they've accomplished that. And it leads us to a question, like, what is UNLV football? Is UNLV football the double-digit wins that we saw with Barry Odom in the 3 straight bowl games that we'll go to this year? Or should we be satisfied with the 6 wins, right? They're bowl eligible. That, for decades, was a successful season. Of course, you've got to beat Reno. But what is UNLV football? Is it a team that is every year fighting for the playoff? Or is it a team that, you know,
What do you think it is?
I think you bring up a great point of establishing that culture, the foundation that Barry Odom laid down with the Jackson Woodard and all those guys playing so hard with the new transfer portal and all these new guys here, completely brand new roster. They've kind of lost that identity from last year and the year before. And for you guys like us who have been here for, more than a few years, we know that UNLV football's brand was hard, smart, tough last year. I think we're still trying to find that identity of this year. Offensively, these guys are rocking and rolling, but it's a team sport. It's a team.
So I'm a little
Answer your own question.
So I think that they're not. I just think that the last 2 years, let's celebrate it for what it was, and then just let's realize that UNLV is going to be a top 3 team in the Mountain West that hopefully wins 6 to 8 games every year. I think, to me, that's where we're at right now. Now, I know you guys indirectly work for the university, and I'm a homer. I'm a UNLV grad. But if I'm Dan Mullen, everybody on defense who has a position that's listed on defense, we're at Rebel Park right now running, and then afterwards, every position's up for grab, including the people that pressure the quarterback. Because every quarterback that plays UNLV looks like they're Joe Montana because they have all day to throw the football.
That's very true.
And that needs to stop. And maybe my expectations are higher than the 8 games, and maybe that's why I'm so passionate. But you can't go and lose by 25 points and give up 400 yards to Air Force on the ground and 2 whatever. Every player looked like Ashton Genty for Boise State against UNLV.
Ray Brewer is on a hot one today, and that's a
me
good thing. We're going to have a really good Sin City Beat.
Yeah.
Now, listen, one of the reasons the Rebels even got to 6-0 is quarterback Anthony Colandrea. Is he the favorite for Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year? The panel answers next.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
All right, so 2 seasons at UVA served quarterback Anthony Colandrea well. The junior is playing really well in his first season as a transfer. Now, Colandrea has 12 touchdowns and 4 picks on the season, plus just over 1,600 yards. Now, just taking a look at his passing numbers, he might not be the leader in any categories for the Mountain West, yet he's still on the top end. But when you take into consideration his rushing numbers, it's impressive, as he has over 410 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. And lastly, get this, Colandrea has won Mountain West Offensive Player of the Week 3 times. That's the first time ever that a UNLV quarterback has received that award 3 times for the entirety of their career, and he's accomplished it in just half of a season. So it's historic stuff. So Paloma, considering all of that, does he deserve to win Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year?
He's up there, right? He's up there. After what we saw at Boise State, obviously very talented quarterback as well. I've been really impressed with what he's been able to do, how quickly he's been able to pick up Coach Mullen's offense. He has a very talented offensive coordinator, Corey Dennis, coming from Ohio State, and a lot of talent around him too. You have to recognize that the receivers, Jet Thomas, these guys are able to make plays, and so is Anthony Colandrea. But yeah, we sat down with him on the Red Zone. Really bright young man, transfer from Virginia. He played against Clemson. He played against top-ranked, top 10 teams in the nation. So he has that experience underneath his belt. And yeah, he was pretty pissed last night in Boise State. Really, told me that it sucked to be on the bye week on this loss. But I'm curious of hey, does he go over to the defense, on the bench and rally those guys up? What is he doing as a leader to make sure that they're really firing in all 3 zones?
Well, Paloma,
can he play defense?
Yeah, that would be great, huh?
What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, he may be doing some of that. You see him on the sideline more than I do when you're down there and I'm up in the booth. He's a gamer. He is as intense as it gets. I remember seeing in spring practice, rushing against his own team. They're not allowed to hit him really, and he's running and diving for pylons and getting up and getting in everybody's face. So right off the bat, you knew that he had that fire, that spark. I'm sure there's some of that going on. And you mentioned the bye week. Defensively, might be a good thing to have the bye week, especially 2 weeks of prep for a good New Mexico team that's surging so far this year. Yeah. But offensively, they're sitting on their hands going, all right, let's get back at it.
Let's put a quick pin in the Colandrea stuff, because I do want to, you provided a great transition there, Paloma, with the defensive side of the ball, because I thought we were going to get even to more of this in the A block, but let's rehash this, because I learned so many nuggets just during our commercial breaks. Matt, you were telling me, Dan Mullen inherited this team with 0 defensive backs, right? And for me, thinking of the defensive issue with this roster and this coaching, Paul Guenther, is the DC. He was a defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, for the Raiders in the NFL. Ray, what's going on with this defensive unit? Having a guy who coached at the highest level, not being able to figure it out at the collegiate level, make sense for me.
Well, I think let's just be positive, Ray, for a second, right?
Okay, well, this is big news.
I love it.
No,
Let's call your wife.
The guy he has been at the top level calling defensive plays, and maybe he figures it out. Maybe he's got more X's and O's to figure it out.
Okay, get to negative, Ray. That's what we want
negative,
to say.
Ray, is there's certain concepts in college football that he might not be intimately familiar with. Additionally, he's not able to say what he knows, which we've established might be a lot to an 18 to 22-year-old kid can comprehend. He might be playing chess, and these guys might only know how to play checkers. And his message is not getting down there.
What's the analogy you were telling me during the commercial break when you were talking to Matt Neverett? Tell me. What did you say?
Gosh, I can't remember.
Oh my!
I said a lot. I was fired up.
Firing your friend.
Oh, firing your friend. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, so I know that some of the fans, some of the natives are a little restless with the defensive coordinator. And I don't know, like you see in college football, we're pulling the trigger real fast and getting rid of coaches. You saw even Colorado State.
We're going to be mentioning it in a couple minutes. Right? Yes.
When does Dan Mullen have to bring his college roommate, who he's got 4 decades of friendship with?
So Dan Mullen and defensive coordinator Paul Guenther roomed together, played together at Ursinus in Pennsylvania.
Paul Guenther wasn't Coach Mullen's defensive coordinator. Zach Arnett stepped down during spring ball. So I don't think Paul Guenther was even prepared to take over as defensive coordinator, and obviously
he was more of like a special advisor, right?
Right, assistant,
like an analyst,
assistant to assistant.
And I do think you do bring up a fair point.
Right.
I think that's a good point. Ray brings up a good point as well, as far as this complex defensive system. And I remember talking about Jake Pope and Marcel McDuffie in the preseason about the scheme, because they're going to be the 2 leaders and the 2 most vocal guys on that side of the ball. And they said, it's a complicated system, but there's a lot of individuality allowed. And you bring up a good point as well, Ray, where the college game has so many different idiosyncrasies, and especially that triple option, which UNLV struggled with against the ground, just not something you see every day.
Yeah, but still, it's like if you're a DB and you're marking number 7 and number 7 runs that way, you got to go run with number 7.
That was bad.
Right?
Really bad.
Ray's going to go make sure everybody's running laps in a little bit, right?
Right
from the studio.
They're going to get it figured out.
That's okay. We'll see what happens. All right, now, guys, the coaching carousel is always loud and noisy, as Ray alluded to. And this time, there's a lot of discussion surrounding our very own Dan Mullen. Do the rumors carry any weight? That's next. All right, so Dan Mullen is known as an offensive guru, so other schools naturally could come calling. Penn State, Florida, UCLA, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, and Arkansas are just a few of the programs who have already fired their head coach, all leading to questions in the media for a proven head coach like Dan Mullen. Now, Mullen has shut down any rumors or any talk. Ray, are you buying it? And I believe we also have Coach Mullen responding to a tweet saying, a lot of these things are not
this was great.
Yeah, look at this response he had right here. Is specifically to Arkansas, 0.0. That's a shout out to Animal House, Ray. I know you love that film. Ray, tell us, do you think there's validity to any of these coaching rumors? He's had to shut it down at a press conference. I believe he shut it down during a radio show. Now he's shutting it down on Twitter X.
Well, there absolutely has to be some validity. He's a very accomplished coach he shouldn't have been fired from Florida, because they've been even worse since he's left. And he's got UNLV with 54 new guys in the portal off to a 6-0, now 6-1 start. And wherever he's going to end up, if he does leave, is going to be a complete portal hunt.
Yep.
And so he's got experience doing it. And the guy knows offensive football. With that said, I would look at the Boise game, and I'd be a little nervous if I was going to bring him in. And I'd also look at the record of the teams UNLV's beaten. This was the first time they've played a team with a winning record. I think he's perfect for Vegas. The guy has a great personality. He really loves our city, right? He was at that UFC, that big boxing fight card. He's doing some major remodeling to his
He's
house.
Happy here.
And he's happy. And he's talked repeatedly about how when he was at these other jobs, just the week in and week out pressure was brutal. Well, here there's no pressure. Right, you win 6 games. Yeah. If you win 6 games another year, we're gonna name a street after him.
Paloma, you're spending so much one-on-one time with him. Shooting the red zone and all that stuff. What's your take on all this?
I think it was a big decision for him to move his family, across the country here to Vegas, settle here, build his roster, build his coaching staff. He's kind of the cream of the crop here in the Mountain West and in Las Vegas, and he's really embraced the city. And he has told me the horror stories about the SEC. I mean, it's the SEC. Every single play down second is just excruciating. And, I also think he wants to give his friends opportunities in the SEC. Him and his wife are really well connected in the SEC. You see all the rumors with Florida and Lane Kiffin and all of it, So I think he's happy here. I think he's staying here. That's what my gut says.
It would be a good thing. What do you think?
He had a great answer in a Monday press conference when you and I were there after Deshaun Foster got fired from UCLA, and they straight up somebody asked him, what is your interest in that job, similar to that Arkansas one. But he said something to the effect of, am I going to be here in 15 years? Am I going to retire as the head coach of UNLV? Probably not. He said, am I going to be here next year? Yes. And, for you and me, Paloma, we get to spend enough time with him.
Yeah.
I take him as a man of his word. It's not going to be a long-term, get old, retire to Vegas type of job for him. But in terms of keeping what's been going on with this program going, and with somebody like Barry Odom who got that foundation going, somebody that he likes and respects a lot, I think it's a personal thing as well.
I mean, it's fascinating because as a fan perspective, the coaching element has taken on a little bit of that athlete transfer portal quality, where so many of these coaches would never leave programs. It's one of these things we're seeing on and on again, and it seems like coaches can be out the door just as quick as players, so we're hoping that's not the deal with Mullen. Ray, real quickly, I want one quick answer because we got to go to the break. Would you rather have James Franklin or Dan Mullen as the head coach of the Rebels?
I would rather have whomever wants to come be UNLV's coach, because they're paying Barry Odom $39 million to go to Purdue for 6 years. And Dan Mullen's a man of his word, and Dan Mullen loves Vegas, and Dan Mullen doesn't want to move his kids, and Dan Mullen had horror stories from the SEC, but guess what? Dan Mullen can count, and $40-some million, it's a great nest egg for the rest of your life and your grandkids' life.
Okay, listen, what's the outlook on the rest of the season for the Rebs? More Sin City Beat after these words. So the undefeated record and season is now out the window. Boise State was the game we needed to get through, and it just didn't happen. So now what? Matt, give us a little bit of hope. What's your outlook on the rest of the season for this team?
I mean, I shouldn't have to give a ton of hope. Remember, this is a 6-1 team, and with where this expectation has been for the program, that's pretty darn good after 7 games, if I do say so myself. However, you get this one extra bye because they played week 0. A third bye is actually going to help a lot of these guys coming back from some injuries, especially some of the soft tissue injuries that the defense has been dealing with. And then you've got a winnable game every single week the rest of the schedule. Come out of the bye against New Mexico at home. That's going to be a good game. Should be a really good crowd as well. It's going to be another 3 weeks between home games. Kind of a weird fragmented schedule this year. The only thing that I will say is that once you come off this bye week, you got 5 games in 5 weeks. The Rebels are playing 5 games in the month of November alone before a potential Mountain West Championship game at the beginning of December. So on the one hand, you've got a lot of games in a short amount of time. On the other hand, we talk about the offense and getting it rolling. I think that actually benefits a team like UNLV. Also, winnable games the rest of the way. Utah State, that game against Hawaii is going to be awesome. At Colorado State, who's in a really hard stretch right now, especially just firing their coach. And then the last game of the year at Reno on Thanksgiving weekend. So winnable games the rest of the way.
Paloma, you were mentioning earlier in the show, Colandrea didn't love the fact you have that tough loss and now you got to let it linger with the bye week. What do you think from a Mullen standpoint, Colandrea standpoint, the top dogs on this team. How are they going to handle this bye week to just make sure the rest of the season they have it locked down?
I hate this bye week. I hate that we've had 3 bye weeks. Can we just keep going? Like, I just want to go back to practice.
Do they
get
lose
back
momentum,
to work.
or do they have the
I feel
mentality
like
that
you do
worked for
lose momentum. Like,
Yes.
maybe these 3 bye weeks have hurt UNLV a little bit.
It's
like,
just been a weird
go
schedule.
go stop. We started early, week 0. I mean, it's just been like, are we playing football? Are we not playing football? Mentally, okay? Physically, obviously, these guys can get ready to go. But sure, you know, guys can heal up. But man, I just want to see these guys rock and roll. And like you mentioned, November's all gas, no brakes. So get it done, get it fixed defensively. You know, get the coaching staff ready to roll. Like, these guys need to come out firing and go win in November and go to the Mountain West Championship.
Well, we got about a minute left, and Ray, I just want to say a couple things. One, you look like a little kid who just lost his dog, and I'm filled with anxiety, but it's okay. But let me just say one thing, Ray.
It's okay,
when
Ray.
we talk about the greatest performances of all time, Shohei Ohtani the other night, you know, when we talk about Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight and that masterful Oscar-winning performance, when we talk about these things, I think in that same category one day, people are going to say, wow, Ray Brewer, the Monday after the Rebels lose to Boise State, that Sin City Beat performance was an all-timer. So Ray, I just want to give you the last 45 seconds here. Do whatever. You could just get up and leave. We could all bow down to you. Just say whatever you want because you deserve it, my friend. This is an all-timer, so thank you.
Well, thank you guys for the compliments. I will say defense wins championships.
Okay.
And 5 games in November with a team that, listen, they're not, the injury report's not pristine. You worry just about them having to go week after week after week with dings and dings and dings towards the end of the season. I'm a UNLV grad. I'm a Las Vegas native.
Yes.
The only game that matters right now is Thanksgiving weekend. We want turkey, stuffing, gravy, maybe a little pumpkin cheese pig
All right,
pie.
we got to go. Just say
And a victory over the Wolfpack.
Okay, there you go. See you next time. Thanks so much, guys.